Representative Jill Tokuda directly confronted Pete Hegseth with a hard-hitting question that he has no answer for.
Gentleman yields back. Chair now recognizes the gentlelady from Hawaii, Ms. Tokuda.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and I agree we've had many performances today, but what we'd like is some answers. Mr. Secretary, did you invite Elon Musk for a briefing on war plans with China to the Pentagon? Yes or no is simple.
There's been a lot of hyperbole and incorrect reporting around that situation, but we did invite Elon over to come talk to us generally, but there was no war plans being discussed.
Okay, so whose idea was it to invite him to the Pentagon for a briefing? You mentioned you served at the pleasure of the president. Was it the president's will to have him come and be briefed?
Well, as you know, at that time, Elon Musk was leading up DOGE efforts, and we've taken a great investment in DOGE at DOD, and so getting his input on how we make DOD more efficient makes a great deal of sense.
Okay, but don't you think it's a conflict of interest for the world's richest man? Many of the contracts that the DOD is engaged in, billions of dollars of contracts going to his company, and he is, as to your point, was leading DOGE, which was involved in cutting hundreds of contracts, but also becoming intimately aware of the platforms and the requirements that would be given out for new contracts. Did you not think it was a conflict of interest to invite someone with financial interests into the Pentagon to have firsthand knowledge of what they could then bid on for their own, enrichment?
Ma'am, it was just an informal discussion, but I'll tell you, anyone that knows our Defense Department knows we show no preference to any company other than what your capabilities are, and we're grateful for the places where his companies benefit our national defense.
So for a $280 million donation, the world's richest man with companies intimately linked and involved in billion-dollar contracts with the Department of Defense gain access into the Pentagon. So would you say that any company right now that has multi-billion-dollar contracts with the Department of Defense has access to the Pentagon right now? 1-hour briefings with you personally?
On the regular basis,
the answer
I
is
meet with many people and many different companies and many different aspects of our defense industrial base to ensure we have the best possible capabilities. It would be imprudent to do
Well, I'm
otherwise.
sure for an investment of $280 million, Elon's investors are quite happy that it's come out into the billions. I want to jump questions right now. Mr. Secretary, on January 6, 2021, rioters and looters attacked federal law enforcement officials, vandalized and destroyed federal government property, and caused an estimated $2.7 billion in damages right here at the Capitol. Would you have sent the National Guard and the Marines in on that day?
Well, unfortunately, President Trump requested the National Guard in advance, and that was...
It took him quite a long time. I'm asking you, as Secretary of Defense, would you have sent in the National Guard and the Marines on that day? We had 140 Capitol Police officers injured. One died the next day. Would you have sent in the National Guard and the Marines?
As I said, President Trump directed National Guard to be there in advance.
And I think you can look at the record of how long it actually took for him to actually send them in. But it's good to hear that it sounds like you would have sent in the National Guard and the Marines on that day in which the insurrection was taking place right here at the Capitol. Mr. Secretary, during your confirmation hearing, you failed to deny the conclusion that you would carry out an order to shoot protesters in the legs. So let me be direct. Given what we are seeing across the country right now, would you carry out or issue an order by the president for our military to fire upon protesters actively engaging in their civil right to exercise free speech, their First Amendment rights? Would you give that order from the president?
I assume you're insinuating what's going on in Los Angeles, and I wouldn't
Not just Los Angeles.
protest.
If we take a look at protests throughout the country, it's a simple question. If directed by the president, would you order our military to fire upon protesters? Simple yes or no.
Ma'am, we have, as you know, and as this committee knows, we have standard rules of engagement that are in place that give guidance to our troops, and they abide by them.
I'm asking what you would do. Again, you said you serve at the pleasure of the president. Is that not true?
I do serve at the pleasure.
So if the president told you to shoot people in the legs, would you do so? Now, you failed to answer this question as well in your confirmation hearing when asked by members of the Senate.
Because I refuse to accept a false hypothetical that's attempting to put me in a corner and make it look like a representative.
At a time when we have more Marines and National Guard in Los Angeles than we do in Syria and Iran alone, I don't think this is a hypothetical. This is an actual situation that we are dealing with right now. So again, I will ask the question, the last 14 seconds I have, would you order our military to shoot at their fellow countrymen if ordered by the president?
I think it's interesting that for 4 years, insurrection was the left's
I think we
favorite
know your
word,
answer. Thank you, Mr.
and
Chair.
that
I
when
yield
it's
back.
invoked in L.A., they were
Gentlelady yields back. Gentlelady's time's expired. The generals.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Secretary, so many topics to cover. I represent California's 31st District, located in Southern California, where you've deployed the National Guard and Marine Combat Battalion in an effort by this administration to provoke a confrontation. God only knows for what reason. As my colleague from Tennessee mentioned, the military has been activated before by the president, but let's tell the whole story. President Johnson federalized the troops after the governor of Alabama activated them to keep black students out of the University of Alabama. President Johnson did it so the students could attend the university. He did it for the right reason. He corrected a wrong. California did not ask the president for help, and the presence of the military is an effort by this administration to intimidate and incite fear and violence amongst its citizens. You failed at ensuring basic operational security by sharing classified data over an unclassified network. This was blatant, lazy, and put service members' lives at risk. And knowing that your office is a SCIF, I hope you are not bringing in your devices, your personal cell phone, or even your work phone, because that's not supposed to be in there either, right, your cell phone, into your office to send these signal chat texts. Your blatant lack of basic OPSEC would have gotten you forced you to resign from any other administration. You're requiring 8% cuts across all services, not to save the taxpayers money, but to fund President Trump's pet projects. You talk about quality of life for our service members, but yet you take $1 billion away from the Army that was meant to improve their barracks and their living. You said that money waste, but we don't know that yet because we haven't seen a budget. If the president has projects he wants funding for, you need to come before this body and provide reasoning, not just shift money around. Right now, you are stealing from our service members, robbing Peter to pay Paul. Now you have repeatedly said that you will judge every individual on their merit. Is that true?
Unlike the previous administration,
You will
yes,
judge
we are focusing
simple yes
on,
or no.
for our service
Judge everybody
members, how
on their
good they
merit.
are at their job, yes.
But yet you are separating thousands of service members who are performing and doing their job at a high level. They are being separated not based on merit. You know, some of them have been recommended for early promotion and have gotten awards and are doing a great job, but you are separating for no other reason, and frankly, I think you just don't like them. And you are classifying many of them as a national security threat, which is simply not true. You asked the Secretary of the Navy to change the name of the ship, because Harvey Milk didn't meet your definition of warrior ethos. If a Korean War veteran and a Navy diver who gave his life for standing up for his beliefs doesn't meet your definition, I don't know what will. You keep talking about recruiting, but let's face the facts here, right? Recruiting started improving before President Trump even came into office, and the reason that changed was because of the investment that was put into recruiting. Now, I was at the Pentagon at the time, and I know how much we invested in it, and I know how much of the services. And when you take away that investment, you're going to get exactly what happened in President Trump's first administration. In 2019, we had the same recruiting crisis that, back in 2019 when he was president the first time. You continue to attack diversity, but I have always said diversity is about creating opportunity. And I have seen plenty of individuals, many of them enlisted members, who when given the opportunity have succeeded, not because of their sex, not because of color, not because of their sexual identity, but because of their worth ethic and merit. Mr. Secretary, when using your definition of DEI, I think there's only one individual at the Pentagon right now who got his job based on that merit, and that is you, and you got it because of sucking up to your boss. And with that, I yield back.